Hello and welcome to the JackCast, your Swansea City podcast. I'm your host, Steve Carroll. Apologies for the delay in the end of season podcast, but we are here now. And by we, I mean Andy Gordon has kindly agreed to join me. Evening, Andy. How are you?
All right, not bad, mate. Not bad. Enjoying the unseasonable summer sunny weather.
Yeah, it's very nice at the moment, and it's a bit of a shame there's no games to go to enjoy, and then a potential beer garden afterwards. But yeah, typical, eh? But plenty to discuss on this week's podcast, to say the least. The season has ended. We've said goodbye to a few players. We've already made a signing, which is encouraging. A few other things need to be resolved. We've got a new bar opening in town, and we've even, by the looks of it, got a trip to Spain potentially and staying somewhere like Benidorm if people want that in pre-season. So loads to discuss. Andy, let's get to it first. The final game of the season, a 3-3 draw with Oxford. I often find the end of the season can be a bit of a funny one, particularly on the last day, particularly if there's not much to play for. You really don't know what you're going to get. I mean, I look back to I think it was 3 years ago. We had QPR on the final day at home. We always seem to be at home, don't we, on the last day? And that QPR game was a miserable 1-0 that we lost late on. And then we had a brilliant 3-2 win against West Brom, which proved to be Russell Martin's last game. Perot scoring a free kick right at the end. Then last year, another miserable 1-0 loss to Millwall after a missed penalty. And it seemed like this year, we definitely got a classic. And it looked as if it was going to be similar to the West Brom game for a couple of years ago. But unfortunately, Oxford equalised at the end. But a thoroughly entertaining way to end the season, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. It's just general fun, wasn't it? And there's great atmosphere. Fair play to Oxford, probably the biggest party we've seen from away fans in a long, long time. And they added to the occasion as well. I think the home crowd is pretty bouncy as well. I think everyone enjoying Cardiff relegation, so everyone's in a good mood. And I think, yeah, no, it's sunny. The sun was out, and just a great game of football, wasn't it? And obviously, I mean, I think we scored, I think, three cracking goals, but we played some good stuff at times as well. Shame we didn't get the win. Bit of an error at the end, but I mean that. I mean, I think all three goals we scored were excellent, but that first one from On was just an absolute worldie, wasn't it? The way he just cut inside and unleashed it into the top corner from 20 odd yards. He's threatened that all season, and he's delivered a couple of times, but hell of a goal, wasn't it?
Oh, it was, yeah. I mean, is that our goal of the season? I think it's certainly a strong contender, isn't it? I think Josh Key won it officially at the
Yeah.
end of season awards too, but you could certainly make a case for that being our goal of the season, couldn't you?
Well, I'm not entirely convinced Josh Key meant it with his
No,
goal,
I'm
but
not either.
so I think Om definitely did. I mean, he's been trying that all season. I think he hit one, didn't he? I can't remember who it was against, but that was an absolute pearler. And I can't think of a better goal on the spot, absolutely. But no, it's a shame the awards dinner wasn't a week later. But it's just a hell of a finish.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been worse. I mean, you could have had your awards dinner on a Saturday after you've been mathematically relegated, couldn't you? But at least we did wait until one game left of the season. I think that was the sensible move, really, wasn't it? But as you say, it was a brilliant goal. I mean, Ronaldo also picked up a goal, and as did Liam Cullen with a diving header. All three were from assists from Josh Tymon, weren't they? Who had a particularly good game going forward.
He did mean it. I think it's really been a season two halves for him, hasn't it? Under Williams in particular, he just looked completely lost and a liability defensively, not brilliant in attacking sense. Whereas I think at the end he's really thrived in a more advanced role. And yeah, as you say, I'm not sure how much you can give an assist for the first one, but technically I suppose it was. But it was a cracking cross for Ronald's goal, wasn't it? And a brilliant one Cullen's header. So it's great to see our fullbacks, I think thriving in a more advanced role, which probably suits them. They probably closer to wing backs than fullbacks, and you got to play to the strengths of the squad a lot of the time as well. And it's been great to see them thriving in the last couple of months. And it's I mean when they do well, we do well, and that's really what's happened. But no, it's great to see him helping with those three goals.
Yeah, it did feel as if both fullbacks really lost their way, didn't they, around from the beginning of the new year, really, for a good while. And that, as you say, I mean, when they play well, we seem to be a lot better as well. So I think there's certainly been a turnaround there, isn't there? And I do tend to agree with you. There probably are more like wing backs, really. So it's funny that we don't play that way now. Whereas under Russell Martin, we were playing
Yeah,
wing backs with players that weren't really suited to that. And now we've got them, we've gone the other way. But look, I think that's a discussion maybe for another time. And we
typical Swans. Yep.
yeah, but we have at least we have a winger we can talk about, but we won't get onto that just yet. I mean, there was nothing on the game essentially, was there? But do you think we should be frustrated that we didn't win? I mean, from my point of view, we were the better team. We were winning 3 times, and in general terms, if it wasn't the final day, I think we'd all be cursing, wouldn't we? But it's not the end of the world. There's no point losing our heads over it. But at the same time, we should have won that, shouldn't we?
Oh, of course, we were the better team. I mean, Oxford aren't any great shakes. I mean, they'll be celebrating not getting relegated, which really kind of shows their ambition for the season. And I think we're a little bit better than that. So, to take the lead 3 times at home against a team that's just avoided relegation, you got to be disappointed not to win that game, haven't you? And we should have won the game. I mean, ultimately, it took an error from O'Brien and just an injury time, didn't he? With a poor back pass, in which it was a bad mistake. But I think we can forgive him that one after coming here on deadline day, especially the circumstances we were in at the time. And he's been great for us as a loan signing, hasn't he? But it was a big mistake. You could see that way he had his head in his hands, punching the floor after that goal. So he made a mistake, and that's ultimately all it was. It was an individual mistake, cost us the game.
Yeah, these things happen, don't they, on occasions? I mean,
Yeah, doesn't
everybody
matter.
does make mistakes, and I think in general we should be reasonably forgiving, providing players don't make them too often. And yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's fair to say that Lewis O'Brien has had an incredibly positive impact during his time here, and I think we'll talk about that again in a bit. But 11th place for the Swans overall, that's where we finished. If I'd said that to you and about towards the middle or the end of February, I don't think you'd have believed it, would you? So you have to say that we've got to be very, very happy with that, considering where we were. I mean, I'm not sure exactly where we were in the table when Sheehan took the job, but we were starting to struggle when we were probably about 18th or something like that. And obviously, there wasn't a big gap to the bottom. We had tougher fixtures coming up after what looked like a reasonable run of games that we struggled in, and let's be honest, we got battered in quite a few of them, which was nowhere near good enough. But we've got to be happy, haven't we? 11th in the end feels like a very good finish, doesn't it?
Oh, I mean, I wasn't entirely convinced ditching Williams when we did was the right decision. It was, I mean, you could see why it was made. There was a lot of pressure on him at the time. There was a lot of fans did want him out. But sometimes these things can spiral from there. Something you basically compounding a mistake. But I mean, fair play and fair play to to whoever made the decision to get rid of Williams. Fair play to Sheehan coming and doing the job he did. I mean, we looked. I say odds on for relegation at that point. We looked to be spiraling. We didn't look like the squad didn't look good enough to survive. There didn't be any fight there. We were conceding goals for fun. They just didn't look a way out for it. So, not fair play to everyone involved for turning that around. I mean, finishing 11th, I'd have shaken your hand at the start of the season. I think that would be an excellent achievement. I mean, it's no secret our budget is probably on top bottom 6 of the division. So for us to be in the top half is always a successful season. In the way it's been accomplished, I think is I can't speak highly enough for people involved to do that. I think ultimately we're probably looking at almost frustrated if the season had been 2 weeks longer. If things had changed a little bit earlier. A couple of other things that happened, we could have been pinching a playoff place, which we've done it before. Um, not quite in those sorts of circumstances, but on the last day, and to even be in the conversation for that, the 2 games to go, it's just absolutely mad. So, I think it probably does tell us this division isn't. I think this season is probably the weakest it's been in a long time. Whether it'll be like that next season is probably open to question. But because I think the teams coming down are strong, teams coming up are going to be strong. But I think it does show. If we're even remotely at it, we could be competitive in this league.
Yeah, I mean, I think to only need about 67, 68 points to get in the playoffs, I think that
Yes.
says a lot, really, doesn't it? I think when we pinched the last place under Steve Cooper during the lockdown, I think we had 70 or 71, and that's quite often regarded as a low total to get in there. But I mean, to be in the 60s says it all, really. I think the truth is, outside the top three, maybe top four, because Sunderland have been in a bit of a league of their own, really. Nowhere near the top few to do any damage, but comfortably in the playoffs. I mean, I don't think there's a huge difference between maybe a lot of the other teams um, for it to be so tight. It's just generally quite a weak division, isn't it? Or it has been this year, at least whether it will be next year or not, I don't know. But it certainly has felt like a weak division, doesn't it? And I mean, as I said, we were probably a bit concerned about the fixtures to come after our bad run. But I mean, obviously, we picked up a lot of points against teams that we may not have fancied it. But that shows it's much of a muchness, really, isn't it?
I mean, if you just look at the teams that finished fifth and below: Coventry, Bristol City, Blackburn, Millwall, West Brom, Middlesbrough, and then below us, Sheffield Wednesday, QPR, Portsmouth, Oxford, Norwich and Watford in the middle of that. It's, there's nobody there to be massively worried about, and nobody there, with a huge budget or seems to be doing anything particularly special at the moment. So I think it's been a very middling league, I think, and to be relegated out of this league this year, you got to be pretty embarrassed about that if it ever happened. But I mean, apologies to our friends to the east, but I think it's been a poor league, and I think we've shown that by getting our act together, which is just absolutely. I think we boxed it, 2 points a game on average, wasn't it? And Sheehan, and keep that up, and it's certainly high playoffs at the very least over a season, or automatic in most cases. So it's been a great end of the season, and probably just a bit frustrated it took us so long to get there.
Yeah, I mean, don't apologise to how we describe them, our friends to the east. I mean, an iconic club like that. I mean, they can't go down,
Oh,
can they?
absolutely.
But yeah. So obviously there's been some departures. Joe Allen, I think, we've got to spend a bit of time talking about Joe, haven't we? I mean, none of us were really sure what was going to happen, and then on the day before the Oxford game, the announcement came that Joe was going to retire after two spells here. Came through the system, obviously. I think the word legend is overused, but I think he's a legend, certainly from my point of view. Do you agree?
Oh, I mean, I think it's very rare you see somebody's entire career being played out in the same stadium. Obviously he went elsewhere in the middle of it, but remember seeing his debut. I think it was against Blackpool, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
In
That
the in
memorable
it,
6-3, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that was a bonkers game in itself. But coming in and being after that game, he became such a regular in the starting team from there. During a championship years, and everything came naturally to him. Every step up. We got in the Premier League, bossed it to the level that he got moved to Liverpool the next season, and he wasn't at a place there. He's sadly spent far too long in Stoke for anyone's liking, but he was such a top player, and obviously he's been great for club. He's been incredible for country. I remember 2016, and being able to compete at the top level there, and bossing games at the top level. And how many players can you genuinely say that about that come through our youth system? It's incredible. I don't think I don't know. If you'd asked me a few months ago, I think you can see him going at the end of the season. But the way he played at the back end of the season, he looked like he had another season in him. But I think it's a fair play to him for going out when he's still capable of operating at a decent level. Far too many just carry on way beyond that. But and he'll know whether he had another season in him, and I guess he didn't. So it's a shame he went, but he's been such a, as you say, legends are overused. I saw people describe Matt Grimes today as a legend. It's I think that's probably an exaggeration, but it's Joe Allen. He certainly is. I mean, I think was it 17 years of a career, playing generally at a really high level. There's not many who can say that. So, no, absolute legend.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, I remember him coming in the team, and then I think there was a cup game with Walsall where he made his first start, and he was brilliant. He was man of the match, and you could see that there was a special talent there. But when we were in League One, it was very difficult for him to break into the team, wasn't it? Because we had the midfield three of Ferry Boda, Robert, well, of course, it wasn't Roberto Martinez, he was the manager, wasn't he? But Leon Britton and Darren Pratley, and it was hard. And then I think when Boda got the injury the next year, it was Joe that was probably the one that benefited really. And we can't not mention that goal at Ninian Park, which should have been the winner if it wasn't for Mr. Celebrity Ref, who I can't
Oh
stand. I
God.
love telling people I can't stand him at every opportunity. But
Ah,
yeah, and then obviously starring as we went up through the divisions, brilliant in that first year in the Prem. Yeah, was nearly had the Premier League winners medal. Obviously, was very very close with Liverpool that year. That
mm,
they finished second with Luis Suarez up front. As you say, he spent too long at Stoke. The killer there really is that we should have had him back, shouldn't we? In
yeah.
2016, that will forever haunt me, as it should haunt the club in the same way that they didn't bring back Brendan Rodgers. But it was great to see him come home to finish his career. I think the only disappointment really is that the injuries had taken their toll, really, and we never saw the best of him on a consistent basis, which is a shame for everybody, the player included. But I do actually think he's made the right decision, purely because he's left us wanting more, and he's gone out on his terms, and
Yeah.
like not everyone gets that chance, and you don't know a year. I think he maybe could have carried on for another year, but you don't know that for certain. And I always remember Leon. He got back in the team under Paul Clement, played a huge part in us staying up, and he got a huge ovation for it, and it was brilliant. Then the next year, a lot of injuries. He didn't really have much of a chance to feature because of it. We end up going down, and it felt like a sorry end. Not through his fault, of course, but I felt like he didn't deserve that. And I wonder if he'd known that it was going to pan out like that, he would have tried to go out on a higher year earlier. So I do understand why Joe has decided to do it. And look, I think it's probably the right decision. And yeah, I just hope he decides to stay involved really, because I think he's got a lot to offer. And yeah, what a player he's been, what a servant. And I haven't even mentioned Euro 2016 where he got in the team of the tournament. And yeah, I mean that summer was glorious, wasn't it, Andy? To say the least. I mean, it was and Joe was a huge part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I just remember, as a kid, well, being, I remember 1994 we lost to Romania at the well, at the Carnival's Park as was, and I never thought we'd qualify. So to see us Wales finally qualify was just incredible. And no, I think I'd forgotten about Joanne making the team of the tournament, but he was an absolute class of heart, and that wasn't he? I mean, yeah, no, it was just such an incredible tournament. I mean, incredible performances from Joe throughout that, really, wasn't it? And I mean, just look at the career he had. As you said, almost won a league title. Went up with the Swans a couple of times. That's just brilliant. So no, I think you're probably right, aren't you? I think he knew it was time, and the last thing he wanted going out in bad terms. So no, fair play to him.
Well, going out in bad terms, like being unable to play and then managing the team to relegation. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Whoever
and,
do you
and,
mean, mate? Whoever do you mean?
and I'm still not taking the hint that maybe you should retire. But yeah, never mind, eh? But yeah, I mean, Joe's not the only departure. Kyle Norton has also gone after
Yeah.
10 and a half years, 300 games. I think with Kyle, it was the right time as well. I actually think that he should have maybe gone last year. I mean, he's been a bit part player, hasn't he? This year, he's played a handful of games. Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, a good servant. He's done well to a point. I mean, obviously, he joined us when we were probably at the top of the mountain, and we've slowly slid down it, really, which is not his fault at all, I know. But yeah, I mean, how do you think? Look back on his time with the Swans.
Yeah, I think under the radar, isn't it? Really, I think he's been a fine servant to us. I think even his departure was a low key in a way. It's great that he got that, standing ovation going onto the pitch. I think he's thoroughly deserved that. Yeah, he's actually played more games for the Swans than Joe Allen has, hasn't he? It's
I
yeah, I
guess he
know.
did 10 and a half years, whereas Joe, from his debut, did 5 seasons, I think, and then another three. So I guess it's
Yeah.
not a shock, is it, in that sense?
No, you just don't think about it in those terms here. But no, I think I think I wasn't exactly Kyle Naughton's biggest fan of the Premier League days, but I think no, he's been a great servant to us, absolutely. And I think even this year, when he's played, when he's been called on, he's been great. But it's no, is it time? Yeah, I mean, I think it was a less of a shock with him going than it was with Joe for sure. I think the one thing that I concerned about and why I would have been happy with them, getting some sort of contract, just maybe as a player coach, I think, is that we're losing a lot of experience with them going. They're both far and away our most experienced players. Without them, we don't have an awful lot there, an awful lot of long-term championship experience. I think Banger's got a surprising amount of games, but you know, we may be missing something a little there. And I think she has talked about that himself, hasn't he, in terms of future recruitment needing a bit of a blend there. But no, I think it's no shock that Kyle's going, and no, wish him nothing but the best for the future. He's been great for us.
Yeah, absolutely. He has done well for us, as you say. I think it was time that I think about some of the highlights. Definitely that goal at Sunderland.
Oh,
When we had that great run under Paul Clement and we stayed up the second goal there, the
mm,
screamer, and it sealed the game for us. And ultimately, it made sure that we were going to stay up. So that stands out really. And I think a big one for me was actually not the season before last, where in the March time we were playing Cardiff, we were one up and I think he pulled his hamstring, didn't he, while he was running,
yeah,
and he still put the ball out. I mean, that was
yeah,
heroic, really, to make sure that that incident didn't contribute to a goal, and he may well have made himself worse in the process. So fair play to him for that. And yeah, I mean, look, not a huge amount of people have got to 300 games for the Swans. It's some doing, and of course, a lot of players that probably have probably done a lot of it in the lower division. So he's done
yeah.
it in the top two divisions. So when you put it like that, it is there's not a huge amount that have done what he's done. So, as you say, fair play to him and wish him well for the future. I mean, as we say, again, more players have gone. So Cyrus Christie, Christian Pedersen, and John McLaughlin. I mean, I don't think we're going to miss any of them, are we? I think they're all the right decisions.
I mean, I'm not entirely sure why we signed McLaughlin in the first place, but it's all Pearson really. It seemed a mad signing at the time. Maybe the peak of Paul Watson's powers, who knows? But I don't think, and yeah, Cyrus Christie, I think maybe just another warm body brought into the squad almost when we just needed somebody there. But none of them have done anything this season of a positive note for us, really, have they? And no, I think there's always this sort of churn at the end of the season, isn't there? You get rid of those the sort of deadwood that you'd look to move on. So I think thank them for the service, but it's best for us certainly if they're leaving.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Christie, from my point of view, a very strange signing. I don't know why we did that.
Yeah,
A baffling one. Pedersen was a Paul Watson special, so yeah, that has been a very damaging one from a wages point of view. So I'm
yeah,
told. I mean, I guess
yeah,
McLaughlin
very
was
costly.
was based on Fisher being injured, but then again, we do have
Yeah,
Nathan Broom. So what was the point of him
yeah,
coming in if we're not gonna view him as like a second choice? But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I think they were expected, really, weren't they? I mean, we move on to Lewis O'Brien and Hannes Delcra. I mean, O'Brien, as you said earlier, really a really key player for us over the last 2 months. I think everyone would like to keep him in an ideal world, but I think we've got to be realistic. I mean, this is a player that is worth a few £1 million. Nottingham Forest would like to sell, I would think. There is no way that we can buy a player like him without much resale value, and particularly on whatever the wages are, which is probably 30 plus grand a week. The only way I see him coming back realistically is if it gets to deadline day, he hasn't gone anywhere, and then Forest will just take whatever's on the table wages wise to get some sort of a saving. A little bit like what happened with Jamal Lowe a couple of years ago, where it's obvious that Bournemouth wanted to sell, no takers. So they just sent him out on loan just to save on a few quid in wages. That's the only way I really see O'Brien coming back, which is a shame because I think he's done really well for us. But I think that's the simple one there. And I think Delcra, again, probably on too much money. We had to bring somebody in because of our lack of defensive options. But I don't see either of them being long-term signings for the Swans. I mean, do you disagree with that?
It's, not disagree as such, but I think, yeah, all Brian is saying, I think it's been great for us. As Pooh is a fan, I'd love to see him back. From a finance perspective, you'd say it just seems absolutely no go. It could be only more than that, 30 grand a week, couldn't he? He was signed by Forest on their way up. He's not going to get a game there, as you say, but I don't think he's going to be short of suitors after his stint here. I'm sure there'll be most clubs in the championship would like to have him in the squad next season. So yeah, I mean, you would have thought he'd be out of our range, but you never know. I suppose. Could there be? I don't. I think he's got 1 year left on his contract. I think with Forest,
Yeah, that's
so
right.
his resale value is probably going to be limited. I can't see us doing any early business for him for sure. But yeah, I mean, could we do a deal where we take on most of his wages for a season? It's not impossible. And he would bring experience there. So I wouldn't rule that one out necessarily, but I think it have to be on decent terms. We couldn't spend millions on him as much as we'd like to. We just couldn't do it. Delcroix, to be honest with you, I'm not a fan. I think he's quite error prone, quite lightweight. I think we saw, the Oxford game. I think he was caught out of position a few times in there, and that led to a couple of their goals. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of him, to be honest with you. All things being equal, I'm not sure I'd want him back. So, I mean, I'm not Harry Darwin's biggest fan when it comes to defending, but it's night and day when you compare him to Delcroix. So, I don't know. I think, as you say, we've so light to the bodies this season. We had to get somebody in. And, I don't think he's disgraced himself by any means, but I'd like us to do a bit better, to be honest with you. I think we need somebody like that and alongside Cavango, because I think I think Cavango's an excellent defender, not the best in terms of, I think he's underrated as a footballer, but I think his strengths, defensive and leadership. So I think we need somebody like Darwin, like Delcroix. But yeah, hopefully somebody a bit better, maybe. I think for me,
Yeah, I don't see Delcroix offering great value for money, really. And
no.
I think in truth, Sheehan wasn't a big fan either because when everybody was fit, he wasn't getting in. So yeah, I
No.
don't really see that. But it goes with warm wishes. As you say, we could have certainly done worse than him. But yeah, I wouldn't be pursuing a deal to bring him back unless we get to a situation later on in the window where we're struggling and maybe these things that have to change. But I'm hoping those days are gone.
Fingers
And
crossed.
we're a bit better organised now. But I mean, you mentioned Harry Darlin there. I mean, as things stand, it's unresolved, isn't it? There has been a new offer to him, hasn't been signed as of yet. I don't think it's going to get signed personally. I think he's going to go somewhere else where there might be more money on the table. There's no guarantee, of course. I think it's certainly fairly obvious that he's going to be shopping around to see what else is out there. And if obviously there isn't anything out there that takes his fancy, he may well sign that contract. So I don't think all is lost at this stage, but I do think that he's more likely to go than to stay. And does sound like the club have made a reasonable offer. I mean, there certainly comes a point where you've got to cut your losses and say that we can't go any higher. And I'm assuming we've reached that point. But yeah, it would be a shame if he left, wouldn't it? But I guess this is the price that you pay if you don't get people tied down on contracts and they go into the last year. Then you are asking for it to a point, aren't you?
Well, it's not the first time we've been in this position, is it? And I think sometimes it just happens that way. I think it's not necessarily something the club could have done better. In a lot of cases it can be. So we don't necessarily know from that perspective. Yeah, I don't know. I think I thought if you asked me 3 weeks ago, I thought yeah he's not going. But the fact it's not been announced that he's going makes me wonder if there's still a chance. So you don't know. I mean, like I said, I hate to go back to finances, but we are limited in what we could do. I mean, all clubs in the championship are to a degree, although the ones coming down are far less limited, and I think even the ones coming up have a bit more leeway because they're not under the same sort of historical PSL pressures that we are. So it's an interesting one, but no, I don't know. I'm sounding very optimistic, aren't I? But I think there's a chance. Um, And I hope he does because I think, I think he's formed a really good partnership with Cabango. I think that they work really well together. But I think can't drag on. That's the important thing. That's the thing we've really got to learn from past seasons. We can't be going into July still with a question open unless we've already brought somebody in. So I think, well, the thing is, I don't think we need one centre off anyway. I think we need two or three because, we brought in Delcroix as an emergency loan because Darwin was injured. Um, and I mean, we got away with it last season, quite frankly. I think in the first half of the season we only had three centre halves. In the second half, we only had three centre halves, so we just about got away with it. We I think we need four really. I know there's is it Lissa in the under 21s? I'm not sure what his injury situation is, or whether he's still in contract next season. But we need three solid pros at centre halves, and we need one coming through the under 23s. So yeah, I mean, if we leave the Darwin one until later in the window, if that's thinking, then we still have to bring somebody in a lot earlier because we can't be going into July with just Camargo there. That's just not an option. So I guess it depends how the conversations go. But if it's not an immediate yes from Darwin, then we have to be looking at other options. I think.
Yeah, I think defensively, particularly, we're incredibly short now if we think about it, aren't we? We've got
Yeah,
the two Joshes at fullback, and we've got Ben Cabango. We don't have anybody else under contract. That is a major concern, isn't it? I mean, we need quite a few signings, I would say, this summer, and you're looking at that as being essential, really. I mean, we can't function at the moment if Darlin was to go. So, yeah, I'm hoping that we're going to be looking there as a matter of urgency. And like you say, we probably need to get to where we've got seven defenders. And the idea really, if we've got someone maybe that could cover two positions, that might cover us slightly rather than needing eight exactly. But yeah, we definitely need to look at that. That it feels like that is the priority position for me.
it's the spine of the team, isn't it? Ultimately, I think we centre halves, we're very light centre midfield now with Joe and O'Brien going. There's some big holes there, and we've been crying out for a target man all season. I don't think Novotnik's quite cut the mustard in that front, so I think it's basically just. I think the flanks we're looking pretty decent, but the spine of the team's looking a bit weaker. Although we do have that Swedish chap coming in, don't we? Um, we bought in January, so Widdell is it? So
Yeah, that's
uh,
right. So there, like you said, there is one coming in, but yeah, I mean, we need more than that. But to be fair, we made that one in January. I know there was criticism at the time, which was fair because we probably needed players for now. But now the fact that obviously we've survived very comfortably in the end, as we've said, that's something we can look forward to. And we can also look forward to the fact we have signed a wide player, Zidane Inusa, from BK Hacken. I mean, I was quite taken aback by us signing somebody so early in the window. It's quite a shock, isn't it? But I mean, you've seen one or two clips of him online and stuff like that, and he does look like an exciting player. So hopefully,
yeah.
this might be the start of us doing better business. You would hope, isn't it? And certainly, it's refreshing to see us getting things done early, isn't it?
Well, I think it's what we've all been calling out for so many years, isn't it? I think there's a big criticism of the former ownership group, leaving everything until the last minute and then not getting anything done. You always wonder, and I remember speaking with Trevor Birch on this when he was chairman down here, and he was always tearing his hair and saying, "Why aren't we doing our business early?" And you think back to the summer he was here, we sold Dan James McBurney relatively early, got money in and did a business a lot earlier, and that's well, yes, it's good to see us getting back to something like that. Now, I got no idea if this chap's any good, but I think there's rumours of up to 5 million for him, which I would imagine is probably half that with clauses to get up to that level. You'd hope, but yeah, on YouTube he looks good. These Swans fans, and it seems to be far, a lot of them who follow the Swedish league a lot more than I do, seem to reckon he's very good. So it bodes well. I think he's a left winger though, isn't he, or a left forward? So you wonder if whether he'll be displaced on or whether he go to. I think he was right-sided when he originally came over.
I
So
could
it
see
means there's
Yom
probably a bit more
going to
competition there for Ronald as well.
I could see Yom going to number 10, to be honest. So I think that is probably where
Mm,
he wanted to play, but he got shunted out wide because of the usual of lack of options. So that's my instinct as
yeah.
to what might happen, but it doesn't mean I'm right.
Well, it's good to have really competition there because I think Cullen's been the only, I think he's been the only one who's really fitted that role under Williams. So I think he did well on a 10. But yeah, it'd be good to have options there as on there as well. But I mean, if that's the case, then I think we probably still need one or two on the flanks. I think there's been times this season we've been desperate to get Ronald off the pitch, but there's been literally nobody put on his place. I think Parker and Govia had their injury problems, obviously, but hopefully
Yeah.
they'll be better placed next season. But I think yeah, I mean I think we're sounding like basically we need strengthening everywhere, don't we? And I think that's probably not far from the truth.
Yeah,
But
I
with
think it
so many
feels
going
like
out
that.
this summer,
I
yeah.
mean, I look at Ollie Cooper and I thought he was decent in the first few months of the season. Obviously, picked up an injury, and we barely
Mm.
saw him since. Really, I mean, I'm not convinced that Sheehan is that fussed on him, judging from the lack of minutes. And I think it's blindingly obvious that he isn't fussed on Bianchini at all because he has literally not played, is he? And I mean, obviously, he's regarded as a striker slash winger. But yeah, we've seen nothing there. So in theory, there are those two players, but I'm not convinced that the manager is that fussed on them. But I mean, there was another link yesterday from um, Ethan Erhajon, I think that's how you say it, the Lincoln midfielder that we apparently made a bid for and it got turned down. Doesn't sound like he's going to be coming in now, but again, that does show that we're looking for a midfield player as well. The fact that even that we're trying at this stage is good. I mean, I don't know if anybody else has even done any business yet. I mean, as you say, you want things done early, but it almost feels as if we're doing things earlier than even what we would expect. So let's just be pleased that we're being proactive.
Oh, that's all we can ask for, and it does take two to tango, doesn't it? And I think that there are times when you get deals done early, and there are times you can't because the players and the under managers and the clubs are looking to see what other deals are out there for the players. So sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. That's fair enough. But it's good to see us trying, and there's some we are getting done, which is great. I don't know anything about the sleeping chap either, to be honest with you, but no, I think it's the right sort of profile though, and it's good to see us signing or trying to sign players, who are younger, hungrier, but also good resale value. If we do well here, they'll be attractive to Premier League clubs, and always comes back to money at the end of the day. That's what the clubs, I guess, need to do. We need to be developing talent, and if we're going to compete financially, that's kind of what we have to do. I mean, buy low, sell high, and then build our squad like that. It's what we did on the way up in 2010. It's what we need to get back to, and I think we've lost sight of that in the last few years. But I think in the last year or so, I think we've generally improved in that regard. Although I think last summer was a mixed bag, as you say, with Bianchini and with Botnick. But I think it's the right idea, it's the right sort of profile we're targeting those sort of younger players with upside. It doesn't always work. Some do, some don't. But no, it's good to see we're signing the right side of player, right type of player rather. Although I think going back to the conversation about Joey and Kyle, we will need a bit of experience, I think. So it wouldn't surprise me if we've got more experience ahead somewhere coming in at some point in the window.
Yeah, you always want a bit of a blend, I think, don't you? And I
Yeah,
understand completely what you're saying there, but yeah, as you say, it's we do need players that we can buy cheap, improve, and sell on. I mean, that's how Brentford got in the Prem, wasn't it? Without a doubt, it
yeah.
took a period of time, but I mean, they were fantastic at it. I'm not saying I expect us to be that good at it, but it does show you that it can be done if your scouting is good. And we look at Flynn Downs and Joel Perot, two great examples of players that we gave an opportunity to, brought in for low money and sold for good profit. So,
Yeah.
I guess we're hoping longer term that maybe Franco will be a player that will do that for us. Maybe not at this stage, but maybe in a year's time that could be a possibility. But we'll have to wait and see. But there's not much else for us to get through now. But the opening of a new bar, the Swansea Jack in town. I mean, yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it? But I don't see how that can really be a bad thing. I mean, it could be good for events and stuff like that. I can imagine the club shouldn't be short on putting some good merchandise in there and some old shirts and that type of thing. I guess you would just hope from a venue like that it's not too expensive. There's great screens to watch sport, and yeah, why not? I don't see how that can be a bad thing at all.
No, absolutely. Oh, what was the pub? What? There used to be a pub there, didn't there, in the same place? It's
It
down down.
was Wingers, was it the sports bar? And then obviously it's more well known as Lava Lounge, isn't it?
That's it, Lava Lounge. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I've ended up in there a few times. But no, I think it's been one of those things. Everyone's always wondered why haven't we done this? You know, for so long. So great idea. Absolutely. I think, yeah. I mean, it's probably not a pre-match venue, but a lot of people end up in Wine Street after games. So I can see a lot of people heading up there. Maybe midweek if we're playing away or something like that, or Saturday we're playing away. If we can get games there, that'd be great. I see a Saturday 3 o'clock may be a problem, but any other time, there's no reason why the games can't be shown there. So yeah, absolutely. It yeah, let's hope it's done properly. Get some decent beer in there, none of this carling crap. Get some good stuff in there. Get it kitted out with old Swans memorabilia in there. Get some big screens in there. It could be great. So let's hope it's done properly.
Yeah, but well, I'd say get one or two like legends to be in there and stuff like that as well, isn't it? That'll always get the
Yeah,
publicity. There's no reason why the likes of
absolutely.
Trundle can't show their face on the odd like away match day if it's on TV and stuff. I'm sure he could be persuaded to go for a pint.
Well, Trun's and Leon are occasional visitors to Uplands, so I'm sure
Joe
they can be
Allen now
dragged down to.
he's got to find some time, isn't he? He's got time in his hands.
Who's going to look after the chickens though? If he's down there. It's yeah,
Well, he's
but
been looking after them for the last however many years. It should be.
absolutely no. I think there's a yeah. I'm sure they can get people down there. There's never be a shortage there, and yeah. I mean, I think you see the reaction on social media being very positive, isn't it? So yeah. I don't think it's one of the things there's ever a downside to it. So yeah, no, fingers crossed it works out.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, not much else to go through now. I think the only other thing I've really got is that we've announced a friendly with Stevenage in Spain. Yeah, a bit of a not one expected, but yeah, I mean, a trip to Spain to watch the Swans, I'm sure won't be isn't exactly a hard sell for a lot of people. I'm sure the only thing is it's not a huge amount of notice. If this got announced earlier in the year, then maybe more take up. But I mean, we were talking before we started recording, weren't we, about you
Yeah.
used to go on a lot of these pre-season tours and they used to be good. And I mean, if they brought them back, I think that would be quite popular, wouldn't it?
It would be. I mean, it's better than going to Stevenage, isn't it? That's just somewhere nobody wants to go. But no, I did the Holland trips a few times, and the ones in Catalonia and Palamos, they were great trips. And we didn't always play the best quality competition. Although we did play Barcelona B on the last trip to Spain. We played Valencia. We played some decent teams
Was
out
it that,
there
that
over in
Barcelona B? Wasn't
Holland.
that where we got a hiding, didn't we, off them?
No, it's 3-all.
Yeah,
I
in the
didn't
in the
go to it.
first half, I think it was the
Oh yeah,
first
yeah,
half, so
yeah,
they ran rings around us. But I think they had people like Thiago
yeah.
playing because obviously I think the
They
year
did.
before Guardiola was
Yeah,
the manager, and
yeah.
yeah, it was. I think they've a lot of the players have said before that first half they've never been outplayed like that ever. So that says a lot, really, doesn't it?
Absolutely. But that's great preparation, isn't it? Better than Stevenage anyway. But no, those trips are brilliant. And it was great. It was great preparation. It was decent preparation for the club, but also for the players, but for the fans, it was just great for several hundred to meet up in another country. And you could sort of doubles up as a holiday as well, and it was just such a great atmosphere. And I think it's that sort of stuff that really gets people behind the club. And I think we said this last summer, didn't we? I think the Cubs missing the trick, by not arranging these sort of preseason tours again. Because I think it's doing a lot of good stuff at the moment. Getting fans behind the club. This would be another little step and getting things in the right direction. So hopefully they can maybe arrange a few other games around maybe the Benidorm area, as you say. Um, and I'm sure if they get one or two more games there, spread it over a week or so, I'm sure fans will go over there. It's a couple of months, so I think it's the worst notice in the world. I think that's pretty much what used to be back in the day, that sort of notice. So it's definitely doable. So hopefully they can arrange some other games there. And I think if they start doing that, then I think that'll be great. But fingers crossed.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to say, like the thing is that they've put this there now. If quite a few people go, then that should sow some seeds about next year. Get like a proper plan in place. Get a few games organised with a bit of notice. There's no
Yeah.
reason why these things can't be noticed, can't be announced really about January, February time. And
Mhm.
yeah, a lot of people would probably go for it then, wouldn't they? So certainly something to bear in mind, isn't it? But I think that's just about it, really. Could you think of anything I've left off?
We haven't talked about Cardiff. That was fun.
That's true. I think it's because I mentioned it on the last one, but I'm not against giving you your the opportunity to talk about them. I mean, like, and I'll pitch in. So the stage is yours.
Oh, no, it's just hilarious, isn't it? They've been circling the drain for a few years, but no, and I think as you mentioned, for Aaron Ramsey to take them down, I think was the little cherry on top, wasn't it? But no, it'll be interesting to see what they do next season, who they appoint as manager. But you know, bigger and better teams. I know nobody's bigger than them, obviously, but better teams than them have gone into League One, struggled for a while. So fingers crossed they join that list.
Yeah, I mean, my Ramsey thing, to be honest, I mean, everyone knows I'm huge on Wales and go to a lot of things, but Ramsey, my key issue is that Belarus game, which was just before the derby last season, the Michael Duff one, as
Latvia.
Wales, as Wales captain, he played 50 minutes, went
Yeah,
off as sub as a precaution, and then said afterwards, "I'll be fine for Saturday," and then played 90 minutes against the Swans. Now, for
yeah.
me, as a Wales captain in a must-win game, pretty, that's not right. I mean, that if he was only a precaution, then he should have stayed on. Wales really needed to win that game, but instead he prioritised our game, which, if it was the other way around and the Swans player did that, the abuse would be off the scale. I've lost a lot of respect for him since then. I think he didn't play for 6 months after it. His next appearance then was as a sub against the Swans, and then he didn't play at all in those Wales qualifiers. So I think it's fairly obvious where Aaron Ramsey's priorities lie. So I really have zero sympathy for him whatsoever. I actually hope he carries on because he has bled them dry over the last 2 years, 13 starts. And that money could probably have been spent on two or three other players who may just have helped keep them up. So yeah, in that sense, Ramsey's a hero, but yeah, I don't have any respect for him anymore. But yeah, as you say, I hope an iconic club like that doesn't come back too quickly. Give them a taste of the medicine that they deserve, really, isn't it?
Amen to that.
Yeah. So right, as I say, I think that's just about it, really. But thanks to Andy for joining me. I'm sure we'll be sporadic, really, through the summer. I mean, there are a couple of Wales games to look forward to. We may or may not do them before then. Might depend on other Swan stuff. But I can imagine just after those Wales games, we might do something. Partly because the fixtures are due out around that time as well. So yeah, and if we carry on as we are with doing business, then there may well be quite a bit to talk about. So thanks for joining both of us. Hope you've enjoyed, and we will catch you soon. So bye for now.